Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Colleen Meyer with Meyer and Mintz, and we have an amazing guest today, Alynne McFaye. Now, some of you might remember her from last week when she came on and she read chapter 1 of her book, The Rise of the Shadow King, which is book 1 of the her Immortal series. So today what's going to happen is today she's going to read to us from chapter 2 of The Rise of the Shadow King. But before we get started on doing that, Miss Alynne McFaye, do you want to give us a quick kind of synopsis about chapter 1, just a little bit, and then we can go ahead and move right into chapter 2.
Sure. So chapter 1, basically, it's Jocelyn's story, and basically we delve into, and her grandmother has a secret, and well, the readers don't know quite what the secret is yet, but it involves her birthday, and so this gift this is given towards the end of chapter 1, which is a pendant necklace. And well, Jocelyn, she thinks she's ordinary. She still thinks that I'm an ordinary teenager. Nothing abnormal is going to happen to me today. But towards the end of chapter 1, it's sort of an ominous ending where, it's more to it than meets the eye. So her grandmother, Nana, she's really mysterious, but she gives her a gift and she's instructed to never take it off. And the readers, when they read into chapter 2, we're going to get more into that in the next chapter of why she should never take the necklace off.
Okay, do you want to go ahead and give us a little taste of Rise of the Shadow King, and we'll pick up chapter 2?
Sure. Well, as everyone knows, Theron, he's our favorite bad guy, the villain of the series, and he's going to be introduced as well. Don't want to give too much away, but
yes,
definitely. But when we get into chapter 2, we get to learn more about Jocelyn and why he's so bad, Theron himself, why he's so evil, and what is her ability, what is she, and basically, that's about it.
Okay. So do you want to get started?
Sure.
How exciting. Okay. I can't wait to hear chapter 2.
All right. I will be reading chapter 2 from the Immortal Guardians, Rise of the Shadow King today. Let's see. All right. Chapter 2, Strange Happenings and a Mysterious Stranger. Jocelyn took the C train to school. It was not too crowded on Fridays, but she still had to stand while riding. At one stop, an Asian elderly couple offered her their seat before they hopped off. Jocelyn smiled gingerly and took the seat. It took only 15 minutes to get to the high school, which was on 86th Street. As Jocelyn turned on her iPod, plugging in her headphones, she noticed a young boy sitting across from her on the train. He looked about her age, perhaps a bit older. He wore black tall boots with the shoelaces loosened, denim jeans that were a weather-worn gray, a cobalt blue t-shirt with rips on the front, though there was no wound, and a dark brown leather jacket, the hood thrown back. His medium-length hair was blonde, almost golden brown, curling slightly at the ends around his neck. It was pushed back behind his head, revealing perfectly shaped, round ears. A tiny red scar shaped like a pinwheel was etched like a tattoo on one earlobe. His blue-gray eyes, like the hue of the ocean, was sizing her up. She felt naked under his stare as his eyes raked her body up and down before finally resting on her face. Jocelyn hated when people, especially perfect strangers, would stare at her. Jocelyn turned up her music on her iPod and looked away, breaking eye contact. When she looked up again, just for a minute, the boy was gone. He must have gotten off with something, she thought to herself, for the train had stopped and a wave of people had recently boarded. Well, he was handsome, like a Calvin Klein model, she thought to herself, even if he did like to rudely stare at people. When the train finally pulled up at the 86th Street station, Jocelyn got off and headed outside. She met Zed at the head of the stairs, and they walked towards the school building, which was 2 blocks away from the station. Several students were hopping out of cars as they entered the building. I'm going to my locker first. There's no way I am lugging all these books around all day, Jesselyn said to Zed as they entered the corridor, which was lined wall to floor with student lockers. So, glad to see you made it, Zed said, leaning against a locker next to Jesselyn's. Yep, just boring old school, I guess. Though I would rather stay in bed and pull the covers up. Zed cackled at this. Hey Jess, want to hang out with us later? A girl with high voice wearing a midriff bearing t-shirt with brown hair down to her back said, stopping by Jesselyn's locker. It was Michelle. A belly button piercing glimmered on her exposed stomach. Standing beside her were Hannah, a petite-looking blonde with piercing green eyes, and her sidekick, Naomi, a short, heavy-set girl with curly copper hair. Hey, nerd, Hannah said to Zed, who smirked at her in spite of her remark. Spring break is coming this weekend, so we were thinking about catching a movie at the mall, or maybe go to that new club down in Union Square. What do you say? Want to come? Michelle said, tossing her hair back. So vain, Jesselyn thought. Maybe, if I don't have too much homework, Jess said. What do you know? She's a nerd too, Hannah said. The girls laughed among themselves. Michelle only smirked. Jesselyn rounded on them, her light brown eyes flashing with anger. I'd rather be a nerd than a slut, she quipped. Michelle immediately stopped twirling her hair in her fingers, a look of astonishment on her face, along with Hannah and Naomi. The girls stopped laughing and headed for class. The warning bell rang, signaling the beginning of classes that morning. Come on, Jess, we are going to be late, Zed said as he rushed to homeroom. Zachariah, you can be such a dope, Jesselyn told him, which was Zed's first name. She spun around to close her locker before joining him with a queue of students as they entered the classroom. Jesselyn sat near Zed and behind Michelle, who was busy passing out handmade flyers about her upcoming house party. The room was buzzing with noise and the door slammed closed, signaling the presence of Mr. Donovan, the homeroom teacher. The class grew silent. Okay, class, today we are going to review last week's algebra lessons, so take out your math books. Several sighs and groans could be heard throughout the room as everyone took out their textbooks. Several chairs and desks scraped on the floor as the other students took out their textbooks to review the day's assigned chapter on the Pythagorean theorem. Jesselyn herself was busy reading the first chapter when she felt a chill on her left side. What pure drivel! No wonder you hardly learn anything at all from these ordinary mortal schools, a drawling voice with a foreign accent said near her. She turned, where, sitting beside her, was the same young boy with medium-length, dark blonde hair from the train. He had his feet propped up on a desk. Several strands of hair fell across his piercingly blue-gray eyes as he returned Jesselyn's stare. He smiled and pushed his hair out of his face. He looked conceited, in a kind of I'm too sexy for this world conceited. Wouldn't you agree? The boy said. Jesselyn didn't respond, for she was in complete shock. She was mildly aware that her mouth dropped open slightly. The beautiful stranger was speaking to her. She could hardly believe it. It felt like a dream. She was dimly aware that Zed was calling to her, but she was unable to take her eyes off the handsome stranger. Earth to Jess, Zed was saying. He pinched Jesselyn, startling her from her reverie. Ouch, Zed. Chill, she said, averting her attention to Zed. There's someone sitting there. Is he new? What? Zed said and looked to Jesselyn's right. I don't know, Jess, but I don't see anyone, Zed replied. But he's sitting right there. Jesselyn turned to look on her right, but the boy was gone. Weird, Jesselyn said. How does he do that? She thought she was going insane. Well, when your imaginary friend drops by again, tell them I said hello and that I would very much like their autograph, Zed said in a mock sarcasm voice, a smirk turning up the corners of his mouth. Very funny, Zed. Jessalyn snapped at him, not unkindly. Mr. Donovan, the homeroom teacher, cleared his throat, startling Zed and Jessalyn both, causing them to sit bolt upright in their seats. Mr. Wells and Miss Squallerand, is there a reason you two are talking while in class? Everyone else dropped whatever they were doing to stare at Zed and Jessalyn. Jessalyn slunk in her seat, unnerved by the endless pair of eyes on them. No, Zed and Jessalyn replied in unison. Okay then. Shall we get back to the lesson at hand? He replied in an authoritative tone, turning back to the blackboard, a textbook open in one hand as he continued the lecture. Our teacher is an absolute troll, Jessalyn mouthed silently to Zed. He smiled, nodding back to her. I know, his eyes said. The lesson seemed to go on forever. Jessalyn found it hard to concentrate. She even found herself scribbling weird drawings into her textbook as she nodded off. Even more weird was that the drawing glowed and floated off the paper. A star that she sketched glowed brightest of all the drawings that she did, lingering a bit longer before disappearing. Jessalyn quickly closed her notebook, putting it aside as if it would bite her. Mr. Donovan's voice droned as he lectured the class, his voice scratching and growing distant, as if he was speaking from one end of a long tunnel. Jessalyn nodded off slightly, shaking off drowsiness as she sat up. The lights began to flicker softly. Jessalyn looked around, but no one seemed to notice any changes in the lighting. Several long bars of arc sodium that illuminated the classroom. As she peered towards the front of the classroom, where Mr. Donovan was standing, dark shadows billowed around him like black smoke, slowly creeping up the aisles between the desks where the other students sat, completely oblivious. She thought she saw bright eyes, red as hot coals, staring out at her from the shadows. She became faintly aware that Zed was calling her name. Jess, are you all right? Jessalyn, started from her reverie, turned to Zed. The smoky shadows had disappeared as instantly as they had appeared. Jessalyn looked around and then looked back at Zed before responding. Yeah, I'm fine, just a little tired. When the bell finally rang to signal the lunch period, Jessalyn was the first person out of the classroom. She shot through the door, the weight of her school knapsack bouncing hard against her waist as she rushed into the corridor. As a queue of students raced off to enjoy the hour of freedom that lunch provided, Jessalyn went to her locker, storing away books she wouldn't need for the rest of the day. The hallway soon became eerily quiet and completely empty. As she closed her locker, the fluorescent bulbs that lined the hallway corridors started flickering on and off, lights flashing all around the corridor like some bizarre funhouse. Her pendant necklace started glowing, emanating a bluish light. It felt eerily warm against her skin, throbbing. A low whispering voice sounded, making Jessalyn's blood chill. A bone-chilling wind came out of nowhere, whipping her hair about her face. I've found you, a disembodied voice said in a high, sinister whisper. Squalor wind. Icicles pricked at the base of her spine as she slowly turned in the direction of the malevolent voice. Hello? She said. Who's there? Crouching low, shadowy, ghostly figures appeared in the hallway, leering towards Jessalyn. They gained speed. The lockers started banging open by themselves, paper and books dropping out of them. Then all was still. The shadowy, hooded figures disappeared as quickly as they came. Jessalyn blinked, and the papers and books on the floor disappeared. Suddenly, the world around her spun, the floor unsteady. She collapsed, her books spilling from her arms and onto the floor. Jess, you all right? Jessalyn opened her eyes. She was lying on the school floor. Zed, Michelle, and the other students were looking down at her. Mr. Donovan, the homeroom teacher, was closest to Jess, assisted her in standing up. Are you okay? Mr. Donovan asked, concern in his voice. Jessalyn didn't like the crazy attention she was drawing, so she got up and pushed away from the teacher. Yeah, I'm all right. You gave us a scare there, Jess, Zed said, handing over her school bag. Thanks. But I saw something. Didn't you see them? What? Mr. Donovan said. Yeah, what did you see? Zed said, looking around. It was a group of them wearing hoods. Jessalyn trailed off and looked around. Maybe I imagined the whole thing. I told you she needs to get out more, clear her head, Michelle said. Everyone retreated back to class, Jessalyn included. Why don't you go home early? Get some rest. I'm sure midterms can get anyone distressed, Mr. Donovan said. But Jessalyn was adamant. I'm not stressed. I'm all right, she persisted. Okay, but go home. Rest, all right? I insist, Mr. Donovan said, scribbling on an excuse form. Here, he said, handing Jessalyn the excuse form. You are excused for the day. Thank you, was all Jessalyn mumbled, reluctantly taking the paper from him. Jessalyn walked out of the school, grateful to go home early. As she neared the crosswalk, waiting for the traffic to stop, she thought she saw the boy from the train. Out of her peripheral vision, she noticed other pedestrians around her beginning to cross the four-lane street. She turned around, and there he was, standing in front of her. She gasped and stopped abruptly. Excuse me, but who are you? And why are you following me? Jessalyn said. She felt irritation creeping in her voice as she spoke. The boy spoke with an accent, probably British or Australian. You are in grave danger. I was sent to warn and protect you, he said. Protect me from what? She said in exasperation. I don't need protection. And stop following me. It's creepy, she added angrily. The crossing guard approached Jessalyn. Are you all right? Who are you talking to? Is someone bothering you? He asked. Jessalyn looked to the side over the crossing guard's shoulder, but the boy had vanished again, as if he walked into thin air. Did she dream it all? No, I'm fine, Jessalyn said. She then hurried home, taking the train back to Columbus Circle. She pondered her thoughts on the way home. I saw him, then I didn't see him. How did he do it? Is he a ghost? Maybe a figment of my imagination brought on by stress from midterms? All these thoughts and questions raced in her head as she headed home. And that was the reading of Chapter 2 of the Immortal Guardians, Rise of the Shadow King.
That was very good. I think that, we're getting deeper into intrigue, and it's things are starting to move now. So that was amazing. Now you just had a birthday, right?
Yeah, it was on Wednesday.
So happy birthday. And so so I know we were saying the book was coming out. So the re-release of The Rise of the Shadow King. When will that book actually be are they able to buy it right now on Amazon? So it's out.
Yes, definitely.
Mm-hmm. So do you have the IBN number by any chance, or can just look it up?
Sure, they can look it up, but the ISBN for the paperback, it's on Lulu.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it inside the chat.
Sure. That's 978 -1 -329 -39990-7. So it's 3 9s after the 3. 0.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And so then again, it's going to be.
In the ebook, I don't have that one by memory.
So that's right. I can find it. Okay. Book 1. Okay. So that was amazing. So it sounds like things are starting to get moving. So just tell us a little bit about. So the book's ready to people can purchase the book on Amazon. We talked about Good Books, and what was the other one? Lulu?
Lulu.com. That's the
Lulu,
paperback form if they want the paperback tangible copy. Yeah.
which is really important because what we found is children from 12 to 17, well, not, young adults, and when you're getting closer to 16 and 17, but readers 12 to 17 prefer paper books. So if they want a paper book, they can go to lulu.com and purchase The Rise of the Shadow King, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, correct.
That's amazing. So tell us a little bit about what now. I know we talked about this last week. You're working on book 3. And when do you see that one getting released? Where are you in the writing or the rewriting of book 2 and then also book 3?
With book 2, the manuscript's already finished, and as well with book 3, I've made some adjustments in book 3, editing and stuff. But book 2 is definitely ready to go. It's completely edited. I also get it re-edited as well. But book 2 is just ready to have a cover art and ready to be put on shelves and ready to be presented as an ebook as well. With book 3, like I said, the manuscript's done. It's still being edited, but it's almost ready to go. And book 2.
And I'm trying to put this down here. So book 2 is called again?
Dark Mist.
That's right. I remember that. I love that name.
Yeah.
Dark Mist is coming soon. Okay, so I put that out there. What would you want as we're going to be wrapping up, it's coming up on our half an hour mark, what would you want your readers to know a little bit about maybe you or a little bit about this series or something you haven't shared with us? I know we're looking at 4 books, possibly 5. Mm-hmm. Is there anything you want to share a little bit about? Do you have another series you're thinking about that's going to be coming that you're going to be working on? Do you have something in the works? I know that we worked on, we talked about, you have your movie script, which is it's currently, I think last time I talked to him, he was almost completely through the book, your script. So we'll be getting that feedback to you. And it was, like I said, it was very good. It was interesting. And we talked about that. People want to go back and they can see last week's broadcast. They can see. But what's besides? You got book 2 coming, and then you're going to be working on the Dark Mist coming. Book 3, you're wrapping it up and you're making some edits on it. Mm-hmm. Then book 4, and then a possible 5th book. But what do you see in the future? What is your next set of series?
I definitely have a series that I'm working on. I have worked on. It's like a sort of a vampire series. Yeah, it's in the baby stages. I mean, I've already written book 1. Book 2 is good. Book 3 I still have to work on, but I've already started that series. And there's also another series that it's still in the baby stages. It's a little bit more interesting than the vampire series. It's about what happens if a girl meets an angel, and something about a gem that it taints bad souls, but Caesar is not tainted by the gem. That's kind of like the summary. I don't want to give too much away because I just wrote the book like maybe a couple months ago, last year even. So that's like the first. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to put in a series or not. So that's 2 series that I got going on. The one called the Mortison Chronicles. That's the one about the vampire series, and then the Heavenstone Saga. That's what I'm going to call it. Yeah, so that one I wrote the first book already, but it hasn't been like edited or anything. But it's already a completed manuscript, like a draft of a manuscript.
Oh, I love that. And so they got some great things coming from you in the future. So we're excited about that. But Dark Mist coming. When do you think book 2, Dark? I know you're wrapping it up. What do you think is a possible ETA of releasing that?
Book 2, it's April now, so I see that being released maybe May even. Unfortunately.
Wow. You know what I like about this? Let me tell you what I like about this. When I get onto a book, right? And I want to be able to read. I finished book 1. I want to be able to move right into book 2. I don't want to wait 6 months. I don't want to wait 10 months. I want to read the book now. So I love that. I love that about you, that you're doing that and having, the books getting released pretty fast. And so that's amazing. So we're going to have The Rise of the Shadow King is out right now, book 1 of the Immortal series, and making sure they're looking for you, Alynee McFaye, right? Because there's other books titled the Immortal series. And book 2, the dark mist, is coming out in the next maybe 30, 60 days. And then book 3 will be coming out, and it's going to be a 4-part, maybe 5-part series to look forward to. So thank you very much for coming on, and I'm excited about reading the Dark Mix book 2.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.